Hello fellas, it's your favorite random dude on YouTube, Six Past Dunga, coming back to you again with yet another video. You guys know what time it is. Time for me to read all your hot takes and predictions you all put on this exact post. Well, I hope you did. Maybe some of you missed it, but hey, it happens. So basically, if you're new here and interested in what we got going on, basically every single month, I read off your predictions and hot takes for the upcoming chapter of Boruto TBV VORTEX. Pretty self-explanatory. I usually try to get this video out before we get the sneak peek for the next chapter, you know, just to keep the predictions as honest as possible. So if you want to be featured in this kind of video, be on the lookout on my community tab because I do this thing every single month. Every single month. And look, if you didn't get featured in this month's video, there's always next month. And I'm gonna start doing this right here. If you're a member, doesn't matter what tier, if you're a member period, I will always prioritize your comment above the rest. If you wish to become a member and support the channel, I'll leave the link to that in the description down below. So, yeah, I got my top 10 comments and I'm ready to get into it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first comment says, reluctant team up between Momoshiki and No Limit Kawaki against Jura. Even though this would be absolutely crazy, I can assure you this is a team up you would never ever see. We all know how Kawaki feels about OTSUTSUKI. I can't see a world where Kawaki pulls up to the scene and just helps Momoshiki take care of Jura. And we can't be sure Momoshiki would do the same as well. Of course we know they don't really like each other, and Momoshiki low-key needs Kawaki as a sacrifice. But I don't think now would necessarily be the best time to think about something like that. However, I can see an outcome where they do work together because of statements that were said in the past. Boruto stating to Kawaki that no matter what happens, the divine trees come first. Then once they're gone, and if Boruto happens to lose it and run amok, then Kawaki can kill him. And I can't say Momoshiki is eager to fight Kawaki. Stated by him, he said he'd rather not fight Kawaki. Of course, he would fight him if he absolutely needs to, but if he can avoid it, I think he would. And now that Kawaki got his limiters removed and he's probably 10 times stronger than when he originally fought Momoshiki, I don't think it would be smart for him to pick a fight like that. So if we think like that, then sure, I suppose Kawaki and Momoshiki would be able to put their differences aside momentarily and take care of Jura. But even so, it's not a very likely event. Right now, the future of TBV VORTEX still remains directly in KASHIN KOJI's hands in the form of his own foresight ability. It's probable that Momoshiki may be able to bypass prescience with his own clairvoyant ability, but Kawaki wouldn't be able to do that. Meaning, if Kawaki is gonna arrive to the battlefield at some point, then Koji would 100% see it. So like I said, Momoshiki is basically a singularity of fate. Whatever he does in the future is damn near unpredictable because he has the power himself to shift the course of fate because of the knowledge he has access to. So in that sense, I can see an outcome where Momoshiki causes Boruto to stay alive and Koji would just never see it. But Kawaki has no such ability. Therefore, if Kawaki was gonna be in this battle at any time, it probably would have been foresaw by him. That's a great prediction. But let's move on to the next. We got 9 more to get through, so we can't spend too much time on a single one. So the next comment says, Momoshiki will manifest after all fails against Jura. Kawaki will sense it after getting his limiters removed, causing him to join the fight, which may lead to the destruction of Konoha and Boruto manifesting his JOUGAN, etc. So I did make a video, my second most recent video, in which was a prediction video where I stated that it's very likely we will see Momoshiki, but it probably will be the chapter after this upcoming one. IKEMOTO just loves to leave us on cliffhangers, straight edging us and just leaving us high and dry. But it keeps his monthly ratings up, so I can't say it's a bad method. A lot of other manga do that as well. But I do think Boruto isn't necessarily done fighting. He still will struggle a bit and may be forced to use his karma a bit before the Momoshiki emergence. Like, I can definitely see him momentarily start to overpower Jura using the power of the karma, but of course there's a reason he doesn't use that power in the first place. So him using the karma will cause that awakening. And it's interesting you talk about Kawaki because him unlocking the full capability of Ishiki's power would probably give him a way better form of space-time ninjutsu. That's something we have yet to see Kawaki do. Space-time ninjutsu over long distances. It's something I fully believe he's capable of. He just didn't have any reason to really pull it off. Like when Ishiki pulled up the Konoha in a matter of seconds. It's like, I know that's something that's coming, and it should be one of the basic Otsutsuki techniques. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen that be utilized more in the series. I believe him getting his limiters removed would actually grant him access to a plethora of new techniques that are unique only to Ishiki, and probably some other techniques that we never seen him pull off with his Kokugan. As far as Kawaki joining the battle leading to the destruction of Konoha, I don't see Kawaki thinking of that quite yet. That's something he will decide to do after much consideration and character development. As well as the JOUGAN, we're still quite a ways off from both of these events happening, but when Kawaki gives us hints that he's at least thinking of an outcome like that, that's when I believe we're nearing towards the end of the series. Moving on to the next comment, we have Boruto cooks a bit and then gets mollywopped by Jura, and then Jura yaps about love, and then Boruto yaps back, and then Jura gets annoyed again and then pins him to the ground, and then Boruto thinks, refs do something, and then finally Kawaki shows up. I'll admit, the one thing that I did not like about the Boruto and Jura interaction was the lack of dialogue. I feel like since Boruto chose not to converse with Jura a little bit more, we might have missed out on some very important lore. And that's one of the reasons why Boruto can't and won't defeat Jura at this point. It's because he sees them as nothing but trees. Not underestimating them in terms of strength, but in terms of their awareness and evolution. At this point, they're way more than just trees. And for Boruto to truly defeat the Shinju, he will have to understand them. That's how he will determine what their weakness is. And also, it would make for some great character development for Boruto. Like, I really want to hear Boruto go in more about what is love and tell Jura about the teachings from his father and Sasuke and their mindset. I said it earlier this month, because the Shinju are so invested and curious about the world around them, a good person who could pose a threat to the Shinju intellectually would be Naruto. Him talking to Jura about a topic such as love would make Jura see the world through a different point of view. And then Naruto would definitely get devoured, but that's besides the point. I need Boruto to move more like his father. But of course that comes with years upon years of life experience, and right now he just doesn't have it. So if Boruto could somehow have the mind of Naruto along with the strength that he's been gifted with, I think that would give him the necessary advantage over the Shinju. We're not gonna get any yap sessions, sadly. Even though it's something I would love to see, it's not something we'll see Boruto do right now, simply because he just doesn't respect the Shinju enough to give them that conversation. And as far as Kawaki goes, I already said my piece on him. If he does come, I'm gonna need a very good explanation as to why Koji couldn't see that outcome with prescience. I'm pretty sure a lot of us would be looking for an explanation. I wouldn't be mad, of course, but to keep the story as consistent as possible, it'll probably be better if that didn't happen. Next we have KASHIN Koji's foreshadowing must pay off. Boruto will die. I believe Kawaki will appear on the battlefield and Boruto's karma will react quickly due to a strong resonance from Kawaki's increased power. This will likely result in a free-for-all where Boruto will eventually die. Despite this, Boruto will again cheat fate, as this is a major theme in the story. He will be caught in a space between life and death and will have a massive lore drop on SHIBAI OTSUTSUKI, similar to when Naruto and Sasuke died and met Hagoromo. He's going to either have a conversation or be faced with a symbolic spiritual trial in which he earns the ability to determine his own fate through a newly unlocked JOUGAN. So basically, he's seeing Kawaki appears, and then the karma's resonance forces Boruto to activate his karma, and then he will eventually die. But then the story would either go two directions. Either he has a conversation with SHIBAI, or he awakens his JOUGAN, which will somehow bring him back to life. Okay, so both options heavily involve SHIBAI OTSUTSUKI. But for some reason, I don't think people would be fans of them taking the first option. So I'ma say the latter should be the best possible outcome. I would rather them try and be as original as possible, if you get what I'm saying. I never really said this, but I hate when anime/manga copies animation and concepts from past events. Maybe they twist it up a bit, and boom. Similar to how the Borushiki and Kawashiki fight, they took inspiration from the fight between Naruto and Sasuke at the end of Shippuden. Even Naruto fighting Ishiki, he fired up that combo he hit Sasuke with in part 1, but it was Naruto's combo, so I'll let that one slide. But yeah, I wouldn't like it if SHIBAI took Boruto in a subconscious world and then somehow Boruto came back alive. I would much rather him unlock the JOUGAN through a spiritual trial and then come back alive. Strictly speaking, if those were my only options, I don't mind if Kawaki doesn't show up to help Boruto fight Jura. I have this very strange feeling that IKEMOTO is setting up for Kawaki to fight Momoshiki to help Ada and Damon, cause Momoshiki knows Damon's weaknesses and will work around them. I'm speaking from my own personal point of view. I don't think Momoshiki knows Damon's weakness at all. There hasn't even been confirmed a weakness for Damon's Shinjutsu, and nothing was said to imply that either. I 100% still think that Momoshiki is Damon's fight. He will have to be the one to defeat Momoshiki, and I believe he can. If Momoshiki discovers a way to counter the reflection Shinjutsu, it's gonna be through battle, in battle only. That's the whole theme with the Shinju, them constantly evolving through life experiences, and fighting qualifies as experience. It's no setup for Kawaki to fight Momoshiki. You can't even say Kawaki cares for Ada. The only thing they share is that secret, but anything besides that, that's probably not a very likely fight. However, I do want to see Momoshiki in action very soon. Remember, the only thing we seen him do was be able to pressure Boruto, pressure him into using FTG to get away from him. So he's no pushover at all. We've seen every other Shinju in action but him. So hopefully we really get to see some of his abilities, and I feel like Damon getting back into the fight is also overdue as well. I'm very excited to see him possibly get pushed to use the most power he's ever shown ever since he was introduced into the story. So next comment says, Jura bests Boruto, killing him, and Shibai enters Boruto's mindscape, kind of like how Hagoromo did for Naruto and Sasuke in the war arc. Revives Boruto and reawakens Boruto's Jougan for him. Like I said before, that's not the best direction to give Boruto the Jougan. Like, if you just strictly want to give Boruto the Jougan and that's it, just give it to him and explain how he got it later. You don't have to force some crazy lore that people will slander later for being too similar to Naruto. I feel like a lot of people are scrambling. You guys more or less have the same concept of predictions. Like, okay, Momoshiki emergence, Kawaki appearance, Jougan awakening, but they're all very different predictions at the same time because something different happens that led to that specific outcome. And you know what's crazy? Most of you don't even believe Boruto will die. Like, not one prediction just had Boruto dying and being resurrected through means that don't involve Shibai or the Jougan. And you know why? It's because you guys believe Boruto will need some divine force to fight against prescience, because without that, there would be no reason for Boruto to live through this fight. That's why this next chapter will be so important, because we're about to get some crazy lore about Boruto and his relationship with the gods of the Naruto verse. That is, if you don't believe Boruto is gonna die. So already, this chapter is unlike anything we ever seen, and I'm definitely here for it. Boruto tells Koji to get Team 7 to safety, realizes he can't win, so he activates Karma, fights Jura for a while, looking like he got the upper hand and is about to win because Jura is surprised by his sudden increase in strength. Jura overpowers him and uses wood style to trap him again, and Momoshiki appears, takes over Boruto's body, breaks out of the wood style and shows a new form that looks like fused Momoshiki and Boruto combined, and said something cool like, "You are now standing before a god." Hot take, Jougan is an endgame power-up that we most likely won't see until the manga is more than half over. So I already agree with everything this person is saying. Boruto using the Karma to fight off Jura and hopefully overpowering him is a really big possibility we could see in this next chapter. And one reason I couldn't wait to get to this comment is because he talked about a possible future where Boruto ends up fusing with Momoshiki to become one being. Of course their souls are intertwined with each other, but they are still their own individual existence. Boruto and Momoshiki fusing would be something I could see happening in the future. And it makes sense because something obviously happened to Momoshiki, because at the end of the series, Boruto seemed to just activate his karma without the fear of any repercussions. So it's possible that Momoshiki just gave up and offered his power to Boruto. Either way, we all know Momoshiki is not going to sit tight and let Jura kill Boruto. So some way, somehow, Momoshiki is going to be involved in this battle. I think that much is confirmed. So we're up to the 8th comment, fellas. 2 more to go. There is no serious fight. Boruto may spark something into Jura's infant-like belief system, and they come to an agreement of peace. Then Kawaki shows up and makes a terrible decision. So Kawaki doing something to mess up the situation. But realistically, Boruto cannot agree to peace with Jura. I can see it being a thing for the moment, you know, so Boruto can get out the situation alive and everything. But speaking long term, Boruto has to destroy Jura. He has to go, strictly because they are divine trees, guys. They can't exist in this world for much longer. And stated from Boruto himself, they don't need to devour an OTSUTSUKI because they're already evolving into a divine tree. But if he or Kawaki get devoured, they would instantly evolve into divine trees. So they're cooked either way. But this way, they still have time, as long as either of these boys don't get devoured. So off that fact alone, peace is not an option. It's actually in Boruto's best interest to fight alongside Kawaki if he arrives. He'll need all the help he can get right now. So yeah, we don't know how long they have until they finish evolving into divine trees, but one thing for sure, it's not going to be very long. But good prediction though, bro. I always love to hear what the community is thinking, no matter what it is. Okay, so the next comment says, Jura pressures Boruto. Boruto hits a hard attack on Jura. Jura tries to snipe Boruto. Flashback to the battle with Sasuke when Sasuke became Hidari. Momoshiki control over Boruto flashback. JOUGAN awakening tease. Momoshiki takes control. KASHIN KOJI sacrifices himself to save Boruto from Jura. Last panel, Momoshiki/JOUGAN awakened. So I think for number 2, he's saying we're gonna get a flashback to the battle with Sasuke and Code. And then since Boruto stated that he tried to use the karma in that fight, they're gonna possibly show that too. And I think we definitely need that. We need that for sure. Like, I want to see how Code got his eye slashed by Sasuke. Like, what happened in that fight? That's a fight that we absolutely need to see before the series is up. Like, that's a mandatory flashback. And this could be the perfect opportunity to do so. Like, especially if we're going to see Momoshiki next chapter. I think that's a must. Well, okay, getting back to the comment, he just took all the worst possible outcomes and shoved them into one chapter. A Momoshiki takeover and KASHIN KOJI sacrificing himself? I mean, all jokes aside, I did say this was a very likely outcome in my second to most recent video. I said we might be getting a flashback to when Momoshiki almost took over Boruto's body. Think about all the flashbacks so far. They all had a really good purpose. The first flashback showed us what happened to Sasuke. Up to that point, everybody, damn near the whole community, was wondering where Sasuke was. Was he dead? Was he turned into a tree? Maybe he was still in hiding and giving Boruto advice from the shadows. And when we finally found out, there was another problem. KASHIN KOJI was with Boruto. So now we had to figure out why he was with Boruto and when during the time skip did they meet. And we got a flashback for that too. The most recent flashback was right before Sarada used her manga kill to kill Ryu. So every flashback has a big significance, and it answers many questions we have or had about certain topics. Momoshiki is definitely one of those certain topics. Since we haven't seen him in such a long time, this is the perfect chance to get familiar with him again. And like I said before, if we are expected a Momoshiki appearance, a flashback just like the ones before is super necessary. So yeah, I like this comment. It's more or less just like how I predicted. Last panel being the Momoshiki revealed too. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so the last comment, if Momoshiki takes control of Boruto, I think he will ally with Jura because their goal is somewhat the same. Momoshiki's goal is the chakra fruit, and Jura's goal is KASHIN KOJI. Momoshiki and Boruto are one entity, and the goals of the Shinju in general. So Momoshiki will help Jura in order to obtain the chakra fruit, and they will catch Kawaki to harvest it. The only problem is if we assume that Jura holds a grudge against the OTSUTSUKI because of the way they treated the Jubi. So there's no possibility of that happening. If Momoshiki ever works with Jura, he would need to give up trying to kill Boruto. The whole reason Momoshiki would fight Jura is because he literally wants to kill Momoshiki's vessel. That's it. Jura has no desire for the chakra fruit. He even offered to just give it to Code like it was nothing. He doesn't even want to devour Kawaki yet, claiming there's still so much that needs to be done. So at the current moment, although they could assist each other if they so please, their goals don't align enough to the point where I can see them forming some crazy alliance. If anything, I see them clashing and battling because of their different goals and ideals. So that's it. That's all the comments. And as always, great predictions and hot takes from everyone. I really enjoyed making this one, and I cannot wait to read chapter 23 with y'all, man. I hope y'all are as excited as me because this month is gonna get wild and fast. So don't forget, I do this thing every single month. So if you didn't get picked this month, make sure your comment is there for next month and the month after that, and so on. I will get to you, I promise. And if you're a member, your comment gets priority. So as always, if you enjoyed this video and wouldn't mind seeing more like this in the near future, go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss another upload like this, or when I go live for Check the Spoilers. And until my next one, I'll see you boys and girls later, and I'm out. Peace.